Welcome to another stage analysis video. It's Wednesday the 18th of October 2023. I'm going to do a special group focus video today on the software groups. It's been one of the leading groups of 2023. As you can see obviously on the weekly chart here. I've covered it multiple times. I think the last time I covered it was back in late June. It was like the 28th of June, so this week here. Well, obviously it's gone about 16 weeks ago now, so you can see it's been going sideways ever since then, consolidating in stage 2, not yet stage 3. So I thought it would be a good time now to cover the group, have a look at the individual stocks within the group and what the leading stocks in the group are doing currently. So starting off with the group chart here, this is the IGV. So this is made up, if we go to the holdings of this is the top 10 holdings: Microsoft, Adobe, Salesforce, Oracle, Intuit, ServiceNow, Palo Alto Networks, Synopsys, and Cadence Design here make up around 50% or so of it. Obviously has many more holdings as well, but if we go back to the weekly chart here now, you can see that this has been in stage 2 since January. So it broke out in the latter part of January here. So this is the entire year. If we break this down into years, I think this is a good way to have a look at this first. So we can see we go to 2022, 2022, 2021. So going back to 2020 here, you can see we had a year where it was in stage 2 for the entire year, did have a similar kind of base structure to what we're seeing now during its stage 2 advance during this period over here. So this area here, before making a continuation breakout, and then at the start of 2021 started to see some signs of stage 3 type behavior. You see a change of behavior here over the previous pullbacks. Got all the way back to its 30-week moving average, lower high, before making a continuation breakout into stage 2, then forming another stage 3 structure, at a higher point, and then breaking down literally at the end of the year into stage 4 here. So start of 2022, breaking down into stage 4. So you can see that played out through the majority of the year. We started to see a lot of stage 1 base structures developing in the software group. You can see this area across here where it started to build bases. There was multiple stocks proliferating in stage 1 in the software group. I remember at the time I did an article on it. You can look back in the website around mid-June sort of time, around this kind of area here. Started to see a proliferation of software stocks building stage 1 base structures. So the group chart itself continued lower to make lower lows in stage 4 here before building yet another stage 1 structure, and then eventually breaking out into stage 2. So year to date here, the majority of the year has been spent in stage 2. So we only had 3 or 4 weeks before the stage 2 breakout there at the start of the year, and now we've got this base structure that's been developing over the last quarter here, and is sitting very neutrally around its 10-week moving average at the moment. You can see we've got a strongly rising 30-week moving average, which is just coming into the structure now, and the relative strength versus the S&P 500 is still strongly above the Mansfield zero line. So this continues to outperform considerably versus the S&P 500 at the moment. So year to date, as I said, one of the leading groups. I think breaking it down to the yearly structures here is a good way of looking at it. If you've obviously newer to stage analysis, or even if you're not, you can see what type of year you're dealing with and the character of the group or the stock. So at the moment, as you can see, we're in stage 2 in a major base structure. So this could yet turn to stage 3. We start to see a breakdown below this still rising 30-week moving average, and even a break below the structure here. This would still be considered stage 3, as you don't move to stage 4 until that rolls over and you start to see that the 30-week moving average declining, as well as the price action starting to decline below major base structures. As we said before, we've seen major structures like this before. This kind of area over here in 2020, obviously this one actually turned to stage 3, but then made a continuation, and then obviously the stage 3 that eventually failed and turned to stage 4. So at the moment, we're still neutral territory in stage 2. Obviously could obviously go either way from this point, but at the moment continuing to be a leading group. If we look at it on the daily, sitting right at the 21-day moving average and 50-day moving average, so incredibly neutral position here. If you draw that structure out, you can see the outperformance over the last few months compared to the broader market correction. So still in between its -1 ATR and +1 ATR band. So as I said, very, very neutral here. We go on to the individual stocks in the group and have a look at the RS leaders. So APP, Plovin Corp, at the moment is the RS leader in the group. You can see this broke out into stage 2 earlier in the year, back in May. So if we look at it from a weekly perspective, it was a very short stage 1 structure. So this initial change of behavior at the start of the year, strong thrust up. See, it was very, very big move in terms of percentage wise, over 80% move. So it was a change of behavior over the previous rallies that it had on its way down in stage 4. So this is where it potentially started to move back. Firstly, in stage 4B minus, see it didn't get all the way back up to its declining 30-week moving average, but it had come a long way. So it was a potential early start to stage 1, but at that point there, it still wouldn't be considered technically in stage 1 at that point. So not until it starts to get back above the 30-week moving average here would it be declared in stage 1. Obviously it didn't then come back below it again, so back above the rising 10-week moving average, and the 30-week moving average started to turn up as it broke out into stage 2. You can see the relative strength at that point also popped above Mansfield zero line and followed through. So it's had a very, very strong initial stage 2 run here. See it up over 150% at the high there from the stage 2 breakout level, and around 119, 120% at the moment, and consolidating just around its 10-week moving average here, i.e. the 50-day moving average, which is sitting just below. Very tight action at the moment, but still a long way above that rising 200-day moving average. You can see it's over 50% above the 200-day moving average there. So looking to see how this develops and whether it breaks on to the upside on its earnings results or not. Next up, let's go. Next up is PLTR. So this one has been a FinTwit favourite this year. I've noted there's lots of people talking about it. It did form a little head and shoulders pattern over the last 3 or 4 months or so, but we've had what we see as a head and shoulders continuation breakout in the last 3 weeks or so. So it made a break above its right shoulder. You can see the 30-week moving average is still rising. The 10-week moving average has turned back up here. So looking for stage 2 continuation in this one higher. The stage 2 breakout back down here in these few weeks here did have an initial break to the upside here, which failed and came back in, undercut its 30-week moving average. So anybody playing the initial move here would have been stopped out at that point. So secondary move back in the earlier part of May here. Again, if we look on the daily chart here, you can see that break. So it started to move up. So the initial stage 2 breakout coming back under and would have been stopped out through the early March pullback here. But making a new stage 2 breakout attempt in the early part of May here. You see the strong relative volume on the breakout day there, and a good initial run. So you can see the initial stage 2 advance over 100%, and has been consolidating since then. So tight action at the moment, as I said, above the right shoulder of this head and shoulders pattern here. So a failed head and shoulders pattern with into a head and shoulders continuation. So looking for a stage 2 continuation in this one at the moment. And again, still a long way above its 200-day moving average, currently at over 40% there. Zscaler, so this one's been coming back up in the watch list again recently as it's made a stage 2 continuation breakout. So the initial stage 2 breakout back through these weeks through here, you can see at the breakout point just crossing the Mansfield relative strength zero line here, which is the 52-week moving average. versus the S&P 500. So it did have a double bottom pattern in stage one here. So a little bit of a more difficult one. So if you start marking some levels across, you can see that it was making lower lows, and then we got this double bottom and sudden change of behavior through here. Big volume came in on that week as it gapped back up again. So huge move, terminal shakeout, what we call that. We've used the Wyckoff method, so moved up into early stage 2, and has been consolidating in very tight pattern ever since. So if we take this level across here, did undercut. We've had a little bit of a double bottom pattern within, obviously, the move up, but it was a very sharp sudden move up here. If we look at the percentage move off the low there, you can see it had a 80+% move off of the low. So when you get a stage 2 breakout, so these weeks through here, when it's had a very sudden sharp move with no pullback, obviously you would be expecting some kind of pullback, and these are more likely to undercut. So buying a stage 2 breakout at this point is much more likely to fail, because obviously it's quite extended at the breakout point. If we look at that on the daily chart, you can see that a little bit more clearly. So breaking out into early stage 2 there. So Mansfield's relative strength just starting to pop to the upside through this area here, but you can see it's fairly extended at the breakout point itself at its +3 ATR level. So currently, obviously, making a continuation breakout over the last few weeks here. Not yet made much progress, just hovering just around its +1 ATR level. So looking for a stage 2 continuation in this one as well.